Good afternoon, everyone. I see everyone coming in. Hope you're having a wonderful Wednesday so far, and that it's bright and very fall weather-esque, because I know I'm excited if you're not. We are really happy today to have you all joining us for our September webinar, and it should be a wonderful one. We're very excited with our partner Learning Beyond Paper. We have the lovely Liz Fields here to present for us, and we're very excited. So please be sure to introduce yourself while you're in the chat. We want to know where everyone is coming from, what your name, your state, your organization, what you are hoping to get out of this presentation. Also, please be, this is supposed to be interactive. So please, use the reactions at the bottom of your screen. It says reaction. You can go ahead and clap your hands if you agree with something. Send a heart so that we can see that everything is coming in as it's supposed to, and everyone is, getting what they want out of today's presentation. So I don't want to take up any more time, but I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to our lovely speaker today, Liz Fields, to introduce herself a little bit more and do today's webinar. So Liz, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you. Yes, welcome to our webinar, Setting the Stage for Learning, Intentional Environments. As Mariah said, my name is Liz Fields, and I'm the Director of Curriculum and Professional Development for Learning Beyond Paper. In my previous life, before joining the Learning Beyond Paper company, I was a CTE teacher, so working at a technical high school, running a childcare program, and working with high school students to get their state and national certifications in early childhood. I've spent the last 20 years of my career working in public education, held numerous kinds of jobs there. I'm also an adjunct professor for our College of Education at our local college. And I have a lot of experience supporting families that have children with disabilities and working with classrooms and centers to implement inclusion practices and play-based practices with their curriculum and activities. So I do come from and work for Learning Beyond, so I just wanted to share a little bit about our company. Learning Beyond Paper is a curriculum company that recognized that a 21st century approach to early learning curriculum was long overdue. So there was a severe gap that existed not only in the tools that are available, but training opportunities that are missed in the day-to-day activities for teachers. So Learning Beyond was created to address all of this. Everything you need for your curriculum is actually accessible from a computer or a tablet. So at the end of the presentation, we'll put up another slide where you can scan a QR code and watch a demo if you're interested in learning more. So let's talk about today's agenda. We're going to address mindset and thinking about classroom environments. We're going to talk about indoor and outdoor environments. We're going to talk about connecting with families through the environment, look at the messages that our environment is sending to children and families, address developmentally appropriate materials, talk about intentional displays, and then take a look at where literacy and math is integrated into our classroom environment. The first thing that we need to talk about before addressing environments is keeping a growth mindset. So if you haven't heard of this before, there's sort of two camps. There's a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. If you have a fixed mindset, you often feel like you can do something or you can't do something, that you really aren't able to learn new things, that when you're frustrated, you give up. You tend to like things the way they are. You don't want to change. If you have a growth mindset, you are open to trying something new. You receive constructive feedback and understand that that feedback is to help you grow, to become a better person and become better at what you're doing. You're willing to try new things. We also know that a growth mindset doesn't happen overnight. So this is a great visual thinking about growth mindset, and it is small stair steps to get from where you are to where you want to be. So just take a moment now to reflect on where you are in your growth mindset when you're thinking about changes personally, changes at your childcare center, changes within your classroom. Are you down here at I won't do it? That's the first response that you give somebody when they've asked you to do something different. Are you maybe here in the middle, I want to do it, or questioning how you do it? Or are you more towards the top saying, okay, I can do this and I will do it? Or are you someone that generally is here? Yes, I did it. I'm doing it and I will be happy to try again if this doesn't work out for me. So as we go through the presentation today, keep working towards this top of the stair step and thinking about how this growth mindset, that positive mindset, will impact your children and your families. We're going to start here by talking about the indoor space. A quote that really speaks to me is this quote from Albert Einstein. The quote is, "I never teach my pupils. I only attempt to provide the conditions in which they can learn." Again, really think about that. I never teach my pupils. I only attempt to provide the conditions in which they learn. The indoor environment or environment in general, some may also know that as the third teacher. The environment as the third teacher. And when we think about indoor environment, we need to think about why it's important. The classroom physical environment, both indoors and outdoors, sets the stage for learning. No matter how your space looks right now today, you have to continuously reflect on the use of space to make updates and changes that provide improvement, right? Having that growth mindset, being a reflective practitioner, you understand that there's always room for change. Let's start here by talking about the messages that our environment sends children. So I want to look first at this shelf here. I know it's kind of hard to see in the small picture, but these are framed pictures of children, and the rocks are quotes or sayings that the children or the parents have provided that the children get to see every day when they come in. And of course, this here is an art corner in a classroom. So I would like to pose the question now, and please respond in the chat. What kind of messages are these displays sending to families, to children themselves? What kind of messages are you receiving by looking at these displays that we have provided for you? And I'm going to pause for just a minute so that you could answer that question if you are so inclined in the chat box. Good. I see Mary saying it's welcoming, friendly. Thank you. Positive. Each student is unique and equally important. They are worthy to be shown. I'm welcomed no matter what. The family is special. Very good. Good. This quote up here, "Every child is an artist" by Pablo Picasso. Yeah, everybody. So if I look at these pictures even being displayed, are they all the same? Right? Somebody just said they have their own creativity. That's right. The prompt, the invitation may have been to paint a house, but we'll never know because every child was honored by having their artwork put up on the wall, right? That is the message we send to children. You're an artist. That it doesn't matter how this turned out. It's beautiful and we're going to celebrate it, right? Remember, your mindset is visible in the environment, right? That these things that you post show families and children what you value and what you work on, the opportunities that you give children, right? Why is this display so important? What does this display say to families or to children? Why would we include pictures of children on a shelf? We matter. Good. To encourage them. Yeah. They're loved. Very good. I know if you come into my house, which is my personal space, the pictures on the walls are pictures of my family. So that display here shows that we're a family, right? That the pictures on my wall in my house are who I value. And as a center, as a classroom, that we value these children as part of our family. They do feel important when you take the time to frame their picture and display it in this way. Now let's talk about messages to families. I know that majority of you, simply for compliance reasons, right? You have a family board that's up. What's on your family board? What do you post for families? Okay, pictures. Yeah. And you're welcome to comment about these too. What things do you see here? Newsletters. Great. Somebody said information about the center. Yep. Pictures of family and artwork. Good. Family nights or upcoming events are posted. Yeah. Keeping these display boards up to date shows families that you value them having the knowledge about what's happening. Okay, so making sure that you're including school events, as you've mentioned, literacy nights, open houses, your lesson plan, right? Maybe you're a theme-based learning and you should post that information about themes on that family board. The daily schedule should be posted, right? All that information. My board also contained emergency procedures. Parents want to know what's going to happen in an emergency, and they want their children, they want to feel safe. They want their children to be safe. So sometimes having knowledge empowers them to feel comfortable and feel a part of the family, right? I'd like to mention this picture here too. It seems unique and maybe a little bit hodgepodge, but this actually is one, it's a tree made of real bark that the children collected together. And this is displayed in the classroom. Then each child has a branch on the tree. So not only did they make the branch with those recycled materials, but they're able to add anything that they want to the branch of their tree. So pictures of family, pictures of pets, pictures of stuffed animals, whatever they want. And they're able to add and take away from this tree throughout the year. So again, when we talk about displays and spaces not being the same week after week and month after month, this is one way where children are empowered to contribute to the classroom, and they have the choice to also change that display in the classroom. So it is important. I'm also going to encourage you to think about where this board is displayed, right? Oftentimes you see a family board or an information board displayed maybe in the lobby or somewhere where parents would be passing through. But I would encourage you also to think about where else you could put this information where parents spend more time. In my experience, parents kind of buzzed in and out of the lobby or the entryway, and they didn't spend a lot of time there. They spent more time with me in the classroom. And so I made sure that the information was duplicated so that whatever was out in the lobby that had been posted was also accessible in the classrooms, because that's where parents spent more time. I wanted them to know that they were valued in all of the spaces and made sure that the information was available wherever they were and wherever they spent the most time. All right. Now let's look at these displays and think about who we represent in our classrooms. What do you notice about these displays here? What might be unique about them? I see some people say there's different cultural displays. Yes. Somebody else mentioned language. Yeah. Cultural diversity, inclusion. Yes. So you are right. These displays represent holidays or celebrations that occur across multiple religions and ethnicities. So they do encourage a sense of belonging. But I'm going to press one step further to say that you want to make sure who's represented in your classroom mirrors who's represented in your school, in your community, in your state. So it's very easy to feel like you're checking the box, meeting cultures and having multicultural diversity by, buying the baby dolls in all the shades and buying the treehouse figures in all the shades or the costumes from different countries. But you really need to make sure that your classroom is representative of who is sitting in front of you. In this case, this is a great example. These are classroom labels. This classroom teacher had children in her room who spoke multiple languages. And so she made sure that the few items that were very important, that were used every day, were labeled in not only English, but also in the languages of the other children in the room. And she tied family connection into this by asking the families to provide the way that the word would be spelled or labeled in their own language. So rather than using Google Translate or another app, that teacher engaged the family to incorporate that cultural identification within the classroom. And this is really important. Children see, in this country, children see that print all over in their homes. So in order for them to feel a sense of belonging in the classroom, we want to make sure that the print and symbols they see in their homes is also print and symbols they can find in our classrooms, right? So you have books in English, but if you're able to get books in print of other languages that mirror those cultural reflections in your classroom, I highly encourage you to do that. And maybe it's just labeling something so that there are different places where children can see the print in your classroom that mirrors the print of things they have at home. What are some other places that you can ensure that you're meeting the cultural diversity of the children in your room? These are displays, but where else in your classroom can you include opportunities for multicultural diversity? Books, very good. I see dramatic play and crafts. Yeah. Dramatic play. Costumes people have suggested, having themed days. Yeah. I actually worked at a school where they had a family feast, and every family member got to bring a dish from their country along with the recipe, so that this was an after hours event, but all of the families got to try the dishes that they associated with their culture and share the recipes that they associated with their culture. Having somebody come to your center to talk about these different traditions is great. I would say, yes, even to take a step further in your kitchen play, right? If you have a multicultural grocery store, making sure that you're picking up food boxes and wrappers that represent the different types of food, or again, different labels that children would see, dramatic play costumes, but even going so far as to think about the silverware at the table. You may want to include chopsticks or takeout containers that would be similar to, what you would pick up at a Chinese restaurant or something like that, because not everybody even uses the same utensils, plates, spoons, bowls, in order to, eat their meal. Yeah, Erica says having diverse menus in the kitchen area. Yeah, all of those are ways that we make sure that we represent the children that are sitting in front of us. And the next year, the cultural diversity of your classroom may change. So you want to evaluate that year after year to make sure you're representing who's sitting in front of you today. Right. Now let's look at these classrooms. We have two classrooms here. This is what we'll refer to as the rainbow room. It's very colorful. And then we have this classroom here that's a little bit more neutral. And I want to know, what do you think about these classroom examples? So let's start here with the rainbow room. What are your thoughts about the rainbow room? Thank you, Laura. That's a great start. Laura says the rainbow room is overstimulating. And again, there's no good or bad, just personal preference. Some people are saying they're overwhelmed by the rainbow room. Okay. Some people say it's exciting and joyful. Good. Yeah, the rainbow room looks fun. I can see here that the teacher has made some effort, right? I see the centers are labeled. It looks like there's plenty of materials to meet the needs of a lot of children. You know, displays are low, so everything is accessible. Somebody says the rainbow room has a clear theme. Although it can be overstimulating, I can see that the teacher worked together. Very colorful, yeah. Let me ask you this. Can you see in the rainbow room the family information board? If you were a parent walking in this room, would you be able to find the information you were looking for? A lot of you are saying no, not easily. Okay. It's difficult. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, the pictures are hard. It's hard for me too, because we took it from so far away, but you're right. But think about that. You know, if a parent is standing at your door looking across the classroom, can they find what they need? Christian says it's a lot of displays. And I would agree, where a child can focus in on or what they might need is hard to find here. So how about this room? How about our neutral room? What comments or what do you notice about the neutral room? I see somebody says it's boring. Okay. Somebody else says it's spacious and calm. It's very organized, maybe relaxing. And somebody says, gosh, there's not a lot on the walls. And somebody else said, oh, but children can add their displays. And I think you're on the right track there. The classroom is where a lot of children spend almost 11 hours a day. So not only is it your space, it's their space. So you need to make sure that what you put on the walls is meaningful to children and meaningful to you. Because every teacher-made thing that you put up takes away a space from a child to put something on the walls. So if I, put up my large teacher poster about first aid, I'm taking away a space where a child could put some artwork up of their own. So, and if I told you this is what the classroom looks like in August, most of you might say, okay, I understand and this makes sense. It's plenty of opportunity for children to contribute to the design of the classroom. However, if the classroom still looked like this in January, I would bet you would feel differently, because then there isn't reflection of who's in the classroom, right? That if this still looks like this in January, there is room to grow, that we haven't made sure that children are evident in this space. Very good. I love all the interaction. Thanks, guys. Let's look at a couple more. We know not everybody has a classroom, right? We have family home childcare providers. So let's look at these spaces that are family home childcares and tell me what you think about these classroom examples. Again, we could probably consider this a rainbow room. Lots of colorful toys there. So what are your thoughts about these spaces? Somebody said, I'm concerned about safety. Very good. The pictures are very high on the wall. Okay. It's too busy and closed in. Crowded. Very good. prone to injuries. Okay. Cool and dynamic. Yeah. Yeah, and somebody says there's a lot of different ages that you would expect ages to be combined in a smaller family home child care center. So this suggestion maybe changing this out for something that's wooden. Maybe the left room is for younger and this one is for a little bit of older children. Yeah. Now, again, take a step back. What do these spaces say to the families that are entering this space, right? What do these spaces say to children? Where are they going to feel welcome? Very good. Some people say that this space here is calming, right? Things are low and accessible. And somebody else says families might understand a calm space, right? The families might be looking for something that's colorful and exciting. Okay. Now, let's talk a little bit about materials, because what's in these spaces, right? The physical organization of the spaces is one thing, but what we provide children, the materials, is something else that is part of this environment. So the materials that you use should be quality materials, and there should be enough of them for every child to have opportunity to use them. You should have a mix of natural and commercial materials. There should be materials that are open-ended, meaning that there's no one way to use those materials. They prompt creativity and problem solving. The materials should be age appropriate and of course multicultural, but as we talked about before, they should represent the cultures of the children sitting in front of you. Materials should be accessible, right? They should be available inside and outside. There could be repurposed materials, but they should also be displayed intentionally. And I really want you to think about the indoor-outdoor mention. You know, children engage with materials in different ways inside versus outside. So in my child care center, our materials actually rotated. The manipulatives, even the manipulatives rotated from in the classroom to outside, because sometimes I found that children engaged with the material one way inside and a different way outside. Some children refuse to engage with those materials. Yes, there's a block covering my screen. Yes, let me pause. Some children refuse to engage with those materials, and other children would once they were outside. All right, I'm gonna pause because I want to make sure. I don't know why I have a block covering my screen. Let me stop my share and reshare just to be sure. I'm not sure what's going on with that.
Success, much better.
Yeah,
Thank
sure. Yeah, it must have been something in the background popping up that made it disappear. I don't know. That was strange. Technology for us, I guess. Let me get my video panels back up here so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, so when you have materials, commercial versus natural, they bring different qualities of instruction and engagement to the classroom. So what are these? When we talk about commercial materials, let's first start, what are these right here? Manipulatives. Yeah, does anybody know the formal name for these manipulatives here? Counting blocks? Yep. They're sometimes known as unifix cubes. Very good. What can you have children do with these counting blocks, unifix cubes? What kind of activities can be done with them? I see sorting, measuring, counting, building. Very good. Matching. Okay. Okay. Shapes. Yeah, shapes might be difficult. So these commercial materials are needed, right? They help children build foundational skills. Sorting, counting, those are foundational mathematical concepts. So these Unifix cubes have one attribute, right? They are all the same size and they're all the same shape, but they're different colors. So this one attribute is appropriate when we're teaching kids foundational skills. Now let's look at this basket of natural materials. What can you do with these natural materials? Julia says we could talk about texture. You could sort them still. Yes. Oh, but you can sort them by size. You could sort them by length. You could count them. Yeah. You could explore them in the science center with a magnifying glass. We could stack them. You could sequence them by size. So now you have multiple attributes that the natural materials are bringing in: size, shape, texture. You could weigh them, right? You can sort by color. So these natural materials actually lead to more problem solving, working children's cognitive abilities in a wider range because there are so many different things that you can do with them. Somebody says here, where can you find these natural materials? You just collect them from where you are. Of course, there are vendors that will sell natural materials, but most natural materials can be collected from where you live and work. Children and families can collect these natural materials, right? That can be a task for every child to come in with a rock. Naturally, most children, young children, I find, have rocks in their pockets, right? So having children bring things in that they find, you can grow your natural materials in your centers. Here are some other ideas of things to do with natural materials, right? One, natural materials take learning outside because natural materials are found out there. But here you can see children are patterning, right? We are still working on math with these natural materials in an outdoor environment. So they're patterning here: pine cone, leaf, acorn. Here, children are using natural materials and sand to make sets. Yeah, here again, this is just permanent marker written on a rock, and they've collected acorns in sets. Here we've turned natural materials into art, right? So the commercial materials might not make such a great art project, but natural materials can be used in multiple ways. Here again, sticks are everywhere. Children, little boys especially, are often picking up sticks. So collecting sticks and then having kids make sets with sticks continues that math learning no matter where you are. Here again are commercial materials, and we need to talk about why would we need to have these commercial materials, right? Yeah, it does depend on your curriculum, but why would commercial materials be important? What are kids discovering when they're using these shape sorters or these color sorters? Yeah. It's important to have these. Why do you need them? Somebody says you would really need them to help explain and clarify things. Yeah. Yeah. Because we're talking about size. Yeah. Yeah. These commercial materials build those foundational skills, right? It is a very clear cut. This is red. This is yellow. These need to fit in a certain way. So there is a very clear cut way in which these are used, and that's important, right? That understanding those foundational mathematical skills with commercial products, then kids can transfer those skills to natural products and using nature. So both of them fit into how you work with children and what you provide in your classroom for children. Good. Repurposed materials is another really big thing that you need to consider having in your classroom. I know I had a parent once say, why are my kids playing with trash? And I said, they're not. Look at what they're doing, right? Look at this picture. What is this child discovering by playing with these repurposed materials? What standards is this child meeting? STEM, I see STEM, absolutely. Yeah, things can be used in lots of ways, right? Math, creativity, motor skills. Yeah, somebody said, I love trash to treasure materials. Yeah, they're using their imagination, right? They're really looking at force and motion. What's going to roll down these egg cartons? What's not going to roll down the egg cartons, right? These are huge scientific concepts that children in elementary and middle school and high school are using, but children are naturally discovering that on their own. Stability and balance is happening when we're using repurposed materials. Yeah. And then I would say we can take this even a step further, right? What do we do when we're done with the trash? What happens next? If these materials have broken down or torn, what do you do with them? Somebody says, I could recycle it for art. Exactly. Somebody else says, oh, I could build in environmental awareness. Yeah, exactly. This just snowballs, right? We take these materials, we sort them, again, working on that mathematical concept, we sort them into what can be recycled, or we sort them into paper and plastic, right? We reuse them in our art center. And then we could take it even one step further and integrate social studies. You know, if I have to throw these away, who's going to come pick up the garbage? Where does the garbage go once it gets in the trash can? Where does the garbage go once it gets in the garbage truck, right? So now we've taken these repurposed materials and we've had conversations about jobs, about our community, about the environment. We've sorted, categorized, organized them, right? You've used them for art. So making sure that you're using everything you have, and again, making or encouraging families to collaborate. At my child care center, I actually had boxes that the kids had decorated and designed at the front of the center, and it was just drop off. So one was for paper towel tubes, one was for egg cartons, one was for, rinsed out milk bottles. And so parents felt like they could contribute, and it was an easy thing to contribute, especially if they were pressed for time. And my boxes got filled, so the materials got used, repurposed. If they were damaged, it was nothing to worry about because the boxes were filled again in the lobby. So it was a continuous cycle of repurposing materials and engaging families in the process of it. All right, now I'm going to challenge you with this question. And I know you're likely going to say yes, right? Does the way in which materials are displayed matter? And a lot of you are already typing yes, you saw the question before I asked it. But I want to say to you, think about where you shop. What store do you like to shop at and why? And what store do you prefer not to shop at and why? So think about that. Where do you like to shop and why? And where don't you like to shop and why? Think about that and how they display materials, right? I shop online. Yeah, a Dollar Tree. So let's look at these. The places you like to shop likely have displays that are intentional, right? Displays that are made to draw you in and be excited about what you find at that store. You need to do the same with your displays in your centers. So you can see here what message is being communicated. Here, things are, I want to go back. Things are thrown in a box. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. Things are thrown in a box, right? And children can't access them easily. Here, things are displayed like in a store. I want to shop at the shelf. I want to find things that I can play with, right? And I know exactly where it goes back. If I'm a child and I reach into this shelf, I'm not knocking things on the floor, getting frustrated, that there is purpose and intention in this display. Again, which one of these shows more respect for the materials? Which one is more appealing? There is purpose in this. I had a box of broken crayons too, but I didn't leave them out for children to grab to color with. You know, our box of broken crayons was left out to practice fine motor skills, peeling the paper off the crayons, later using the crayons in a science experiment or craft project, right? If I wanted children to feel confident coloring pictures, then I made a display like this. Not only that, but this display encourages use of vocabulary, right? Now it's not just pink, but it's rose, it's pastel pink, right? It's lavender and the purple, because this isn't just yellow anymore. The environment is supporting instruction at a higher level. All right. Again, here's some great ways, other ways to display things that are still enticing for children. Let's look here at learning centers and think about what your learning centers are saying, how they're laid out, how are the materials displayed? You know, what do you notice about these learning centers? Yeah. Look here, I have butterfly counters, a butterfly book, right? I have dinosaur manipulatives and dinosaur puzzles. Yes, it's accessible, it's organized. And likely these aren't going to be out all year. That as the interests of the children grow and change, the things on the shelf should change too. And if you don't change that, I would challenge you to say that then children might not be expanding their horizons, thinking about the materials that they might enjoy using or using for a purpose. Again, we're looking at this shelf we saw earlier, you know, tools are here, you know, stacks of rocks are here, but the shelves aren't crammed so full that children can't see what's on there and access it very easily. And because this is just a few toys, it will change out month after month so that children are introduced to new toys and new opportunities for learning. How you display books matters. I think a lot of us probably have books displayed like this. I know I was guilty of that as well. But if you want children to be excited about new books, then you want to display books like the library does or like Barnes and Noble does, right? I walk into Barnes and Noble and I want to grab that first book off of the display because it's displayed in a way that's interesting. So if you have children that are continually going back to one book over and over again, you might want to consider changing up your book display because you want to entice them with new stories. And one way to do that is to set these books up as if it was a library or a bookshop. Again, here's a block center, you know, thinking about a different way to do blocks. You'll notice, yes, good, adding books here, pictures of buildings, making the block center intentional. It's just not for stacking blocks and knocking them down, but we have a purpose now to build with the blocks. And I would say, did you notice this? You can't see it because of the way the picture is, but that basket actually has graph paper. It has scissors. It has glue, because what do people do before they build, right? They design a blueprint. So thinking about start to finish, how to encourage and engage kids in these different areas is really important. This carpet is here to encourage them to build a city for the roads, right? These books are all related to construction. Science centers, again, looking that there's natural materials, things are accessible, right? I know a lot of us probably have the rack of magnifying glasses. That is there a purpose to that magnifying glass, the rack of magnifying glasses, or do I pull out just two here, just two magnifying glasses, because that's how many children are engaging in this activity, right? I have real materials. I have a word that's important for children here. This is a smaller science center, but the books are still accessible here to children, right? They can pull it out and look at the pictures in the book compared to what's going on here. Very good. Oh, I see our time is running down. So let me move faster here. Our math centers, again, you have books about colors, shapes, and numbers. Do they all have to be on the bookshelf in the corner, or can your books be spread out across your classroom with intention of where they need to go and what children need to do with them? Writing centers. Again, I would argue that this writing center here probably has the most intention, right? There's a purpose when children go to this center, that they're writing a letter at the post office, that they may pick up and do some writing things here, but this center has purpose. There's a reason I'm there and why I want to write. Dramatic play, again, thinking about something outside of the kitchen. Can you make a campground? Can you turn it into a hot cocoa stand? Can it be a coffee bar? Anything that is important to kids. Misty says she's adding books and paper and writing tools to every center. Yeah, perfect. Have intention behind it. Here, they've made it a pizza oven, right? And I can use math and literacy skills here. Thinking about integrating standards. I want to consider adding music in my environment. I know you all have instruments. They're probably in a tub stuffed away somewhere. But if you leave them out and display them in a way that's intentional and important, children will use the instruments when it's appropriate, and they'll use them appropriately. So learning the names of instruments brings value to that music rather than just one more thing to do during music and movement time, that these could be accessible all the time. I want to give you now some ideas for outdoor spaces. Again, consider blocks outside, right? Consider pictures and recipes accessible in your kitchen outside. Consider how to organize the shovels and pails, trucks. These trucks are all in a parking lot here, right? Taking literacy outside. You know, if there's one thing that you can do to support children, this is a recycled pallet. Displays books in a great way. Grab a blanket and encourage children to read a book outside as part of the outdoor time. Again, dramatic play. These children have used sticks and made teepees. These children have created a restaurant. Here we're having a picnic with our stuffed animals. So just being very, very intentional about what's going on. Consider bringing in animals and plants, right? That's one way to create kindness and teaching children how to care for living things. Now it's time to reflect. If there's any slide I would say take a screenshot of, it's this one. Step back in your environment and look at the wall displays, the accessibility to toys, the accessibility to materials, the decorations that are up. What message is that sending to children, to families? You know, do you have literacy and math everywhere accessible? What are the sound and the noise levels? And if you can't do it yourself because you live in that space every day, then invite a director, invite a colleague, invite somebody else to come in and just say to them, what does my classroom say to you? What message are you receiving when you walk in this space? And how can you change that? How can you change that to be what you want it to be. Make sure you're delivering the right message to children and families. All right, so everything we've discussed today, again, will elevate the quality of teacher-child interactions, create better environments for children, and help you with accreditation. And they're aligned with QRIS initiatives. So really important things to think about as we move forward. And we don't even have time to share. I will play this, share this one last thing, and then everybody can finish up here. But if you want to learn more about learning beyond paper, again, this activity is integrated, or these things are integrated into our curriculum, but you can scan that QR code and get information about the curriculum, and our pricing is special too for people that are associated with NCCA. All right, I'll stop sharing so you guys can finish up. I had to run. We had so many.
It's okay. No, thank you so much. We're so grateful for you to share all this wonderful knowledge with us today, and to everyone who's on. I did want to just ask you, is it possible that we could share some of these slides with the folks who are here after the fact? If you want to send me like a nice PDF copy, I'd be happy to share.
Yes, absolutely, I will. Yeah, it's nice to have those pictures to reference, I think.
Absolutely. So again, I'm just going to do a few little announcements for everyone really quickly. So I'm going to share my screen right over here. So thank you again for joining today. We just wanted to do a quick little plug about our upcoming conference. We are going to be in Austin, Texas next April. So if you want to go ahead and scan the QR code, we're big on QR codes here, and I see you are too at Learning Beyond. Just go ahead and scan that QR code. That'll take you straight to our conference website, where you can learn plenty more about what to expect next year. In Austin, our keynote speakers are some lovely, amazing leaders in the ECE community. We have Regina Miller, Vernon Mason Jr., and Beth Cannon, all of which who have been very active with NCCA over the years, and we are excited to have them be our keynotes this upcoming year. And we're also still looking for speakers. So if you have amazing knowledge that you'd like to share with the community on a national stage, please go ahead and scan that QR code right there, and it'll take you to our RFP. Presently, we are looking for folks to speak on the use of technology to improve business and best practices for ECE advocacy. So if you have knowledge on that you'd like to share on a national stage, please scan that and submit that over to us. We'd love to read it. And also, if you are an NCCA member or you'd like to be one, now is the time before January 1st. So we've only got a couple months left. Go ahead and scan that QR code. It'll take you straight to register for the conference, and you can save $100 right now. And I think that we all know that $100 is a lot of money. So if you'd like to save $100 before January 1st, please go ahead and get your tickets for next year's event. And we're also going to be talking a lot about advocacy in upcoming weeks, as we also do. So next Wednesday is going to be our Champions of Mixed Delivery call, which of course you can scan that as well to please register if you have not already. But with that being said, I'm actually going to go turn it over to our director, Cindy Lanehoff, to do some remarks on today's presentation and advocacy. So go ahead, Cindy.
Well, first of all, I would like to thank Liz and Learning Beyond Paper for this amazing presentation. Again, it's one of my personal passions, having worked in childcare and in centers for over 36 years, is to have, I think the way Liz put it, and it was a quote from Albert Einstein about providing conditions in which children can actually learn. And you showed us so many wonderful things, Liz, and thank you for sharing that PowerPoint. There were 133 participants today, and I think that we'll see your work in a lot of centers because you had some great ideas. My personal favorite was the repurposing of materials and making things out of those materials that, certainly challenge a children's creative thinking skills, but also entertain them at the same time. And that's our goal. And if your organization was great, I just literally hate broken crayons in a classroom for the children to color with. Like you said, they have their purpose. So I challenge everybody on this call to go get those broken crayons out of the classrooms, because we don't want to color with them either. So thanks for bringing that up, Liz. I could go on and on. But what I would like to cover is, I'm sure most of you know by now that at the end of September, the $24 billion Child Care Stabilization Fund expires. And this was money that was distributed to states well over and above any other dollars we've ever received, and has allowed centers, over 220,000 centers in the United States, to receive significant funding dollars during the pandemic. And there is a huge concern, and I think it's very valid, that we could lose about 70,000 childcare centers when this funding goes away. And that would affect about a little over 3 million children. And we already are struggling to meet the needs, especially because providers cannot do this, without adequate support and funding, and cost of everything is up. Mariah has posted action alerts on social media. You all should have gotten an email today with an action alert where all you got to do is push a button and type in your zip code, and it'll take you right to your senators and your House of Representatives member, and they need to hear from their constituents. So please take the time today and do that action alert. And if you are a director or an owner, have each one of your center teachers go in and do it before they leave work today, and share it with parents. Most centers have email addresses for all their parents. Unless they hear from us, they are not going to give us any more stabilization money. So right now, let them know that we need this to continue to do our work for the working families of the United States. Thank you all so much for what you do. You are essential every hour of every day. Have a good rest of the week.